All right. The San Francisco 49ers fall again. Pretty typical fashion, wish I could say. I was surprised by how the 49ers lost this one against the Lions, but can't really be too surprised considering it felt like this has been the way the 49ers have played for the majority of the season. Just it stinks because they were actually really playing good football to start. 3 quarters, pretty solid. Brock Purdy was on fire. Offense was doing really well. They were able to try to maintain, um, their lead and tried their best to kind of stop the speed that the Lions have with Gibbs and Jameson and Amon Ra. They were getting to Jared Goff. Jared Goff did not look comfortable today. So it actually looked like a game that the 49ers could have won. Looked like a game that they could have come out with the W, but unfortunately just fell apart in the fourth quarter. Um, we also found out that, in the sack that Brock Purdy had, he got injured on that play. He got a helmet to his right throwing elbow. The same elbow that had torn UCL in the NFC Championship game. He did confirm that they did do tests and it is not a torn UCL. So that is good news. He did say that if he can play, he's going to try to go. So we'll see what it looks like for Brock the rest of the season. But man, it's scary to hear that in a game that doesn't matter and doesn't count towards anything. And hearing that already went through that situation once and how it could potentially happen again, it's always a tough one. Um, Someone mentioned it in the chat. The 49ers, though, did clinch one of the easier schedules they could get. Um, they now have a fourth place schedule, which means they'll play the other fourth place teams um, in their divisions. I can't remember which division it is off the top of my head that they're going to be playing against next year. Um, but that's one of the positives to take away from it is, I guess, they're set up with a much easier schedule for next year, however you want to interpret that. So, and they're still in play for I think 11th overall um, with their draft pick. So, some silver linings. I thought another silver lining was again they played well, they played with energy, they played hard. Um, but yeah, that was a tough way to go down. Um, Even though like we kind of knew. What does that say? Can you go read that sign? Are we gonna get locked in? I think we go. So I think one of the biggest issues was clearly the turnovers Brock Purdy had in the fourth quarter. Two unfortunate interceptions. You had the missed field goals and PATs from Jake Moody. We might be looking at a situation where Jake may have kicked his last couple kicks for the 49ers. I don't know how you can bring him back next year. Like it's just really the only reason they would is because they invested a third round draft pick into him. Other than that, I don't understand how you can. Um, his job is to make field goals. His job is to make PATs. This is a production based business, and unfortunately, he's not producing. So the 49ers have to make other moves. So I would imagine that that position will be one that's heavily evaluated. And I, I couldn't believe it, man. I just really couldn't. It's just the way it all went down, how it happened. They had so many opportunities to kind of build on that momentum that they had stacked up. And again, it just slipped through their fingertips. You know, guys like Jawan showed up, George Kittle showed up. The offensive line actually did a pretty darn good job, all things considered. Ricky Pearsall showed up. Great day from Ricky, one of his best days as a pro. Had a touchdown. He was all over the place. George Kittle surpassed 1,000 receiving yards for the fourth time in his career. Not bad for a blocking tight end out of Iowa. So there were good things. There were bad things. It all comes down to not being able to finish in the end, not being able to close out games. John Lynch talked about that last week. They just can't finish, man. I don't know what it is. The lack of execution just really stands out in a bad way. So, but again, like I said, that game kind of felt reminiscent of just how the season has gone up until this point, how the 49ers have played football. And again, just puts into focus why there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of moves. There's going to be some changes. Like you can't run it back with that, with what you put out. Like you're going to run it back with the rookies who have played well, all things considered. You should try to get George Kittle locked up. There's definitely decisions to be made for keeping guys, but there's also going to be decisions to be made for turning the page. I kind of felt like the Kyle Juszczyk touchdown celebration kind of felt like there's a specific type of energy between Kittle and Juszczyk on that one. You know, could be looking a little too much into it, but it kind of felt like, hey man, this might be one of the last times we celebrate a touchdown together, so let's enjoy it. That was kind of the vibe I got from the Kyle Juszczyk touchdown and George Kittle celebration. So again, hasn't
because
been.
I don't have a fucking phone that has any charge.
He doesn't have a phone that has a charge. I wonder if there's any abuse in that relationship. Damn. And he's in front of cops too. He's still yelling at his wife in front of cops. That's nuts. Anyways, that's crazy. Hey, at least it was a Lions fan. But we're gonna have a lot of conversations this offseason, baby. We're gonna have lots of things to talk about. We're gonna have to put our GM caps on. I know you guys all saw John Lynch looking real angry up in that box, smashing his fist against the table. Kind of felt like every 49er fan this year watching this team. Just a lot of frustration. You know, shout out to Levi's though. I mean, Levi's was into that game. 49, like there's a lot of Lions fans that showed up. We know they travel well, but in a game that didn't matter, in a season that's over, hey, 49er fans were still showing up. So, hey, that's what we do. We might get angry, we might get pissed, but we still show up at the end of the day. Even if it's just showing up to let you know that we're pissed. So, well, it's going to be a fun week of content. We're going to have so much stuff to talk about. We're in full-blown off-season mode. The Brock Purdy conversation about getting paid is going to definitely be a level-headed one, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll have sure we'll have good, respectful discourse about Brock getting paid. So looking forward to that. But man, oh man, what an unfortunate season, man. The only thing that's really given me any optimism is the fact that this season's almost over and we can kind of tear it down and rebuild. So I'm a big fan of kind of off-season moves, rebuilding the roster, adding free agents, adding rookies. So, hey, Jed York told Tim Kawakami, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, they're not going anywhere. So we're going to do it again. It's a big year. They got some contracts to shed. They got to sign some contracts. All kinds of stuff. But we'll get after it. Appreciate everyone as always for tapping in. I'm out for now. Peace.